sorry about that interruption. I just like to give a disclaimer before I even start to stream. Cigarettes are extremely dangerous, and I do not advocate for them. And let me be a living witness that it is not something you want to start to be cool, and/or something you want to do because other cool people are doing them. Because what they'll do, like many other people in the world, is they'll make an image of looking cool, but in actuality, they're in deep pain. A lot of times. A lot of times. I'm sorry. Not everybody is like this. So back to this Landover Baptist church making fun of people with disabilities in the comments. I'm sorry, I had to end my stream a second ago because the carbon monoxide detector has started going off. And in the midst of the in the midst of the carbon monoxide detector going off, sorry about that. In the midst of my carbon monoxide detector going off, my stepdaughter came and got me, and I called the fire department, and they told me what to do from there. Give me 1 second, I'm share this real quick. Okay, so as I was talking about earlier, I'm not sure exactly what state they're in. The guy I shared it's a man that I just shared in my community page, and what he was doing was explaining how they were making fun of people who were blind and had certain disabilities, and what they were doing was, I guess some people were saying that Braille was the Satan. So pay attention to what I'm about to tell y'all. A long time ago I said, if the spirit of love and kindness is giving people intellect and causing us to come together and build, then the Holy Spirit is ultimately with a lot of the medical community, not the people that push certain illnesses and pills and that type of foolishness for business and revenue. What I'm saying is different people in the medical field throughout time have been inventing some very intelligent renovations or innovations. In the midst of doing this, what people end up doing a lot of times is they take hold of it and then turn it into a monopoly or an economic system. But for the most part, they have cochlears now where people can hear that can never hear. They have different surgeries where people are able to see again and different things like that. Prosthetics can allow people to... I haven't gave the example. They talk about in Acts how a bunch of people came under the same roof and now they're able to all understand each other. The translate button. Science can do great things, but what people are doing is a lot of people are trapped in their own egotistical ways, and they're trapped in their whatever they live by. So they make fun of other people. You'll see that they try to attack people who are homosexual. They try to attack people with disabilities. I have heard with my own 2 ears people tell certain people that the devil has caused them illnesses because they disobeyed God. When I hear them say that, I hear them saying they have their ailments because they disobeyed who I am, that person that's talking, them. So then a lot of times you'll see people making fun of people for all kinds of reasons. And what I'm telling you guys, that comes from their inner pain. Just like I said before, if a person comes up to you and tells you you're evil, that evil is living in their head and now it's manifesting out of their mouth. A lot of times that's not always the case. So I'll give you an example. If I'm going to tell somebody they're doing something wrong, it's from like if somebody's about to cross the street and they're not looking both ways, I don't go, that's evil, you're transgressing God. What I tell them is, like a child, if I'm talking to a child, hey, you look both ways when crossing the street, and sometimes you should cross the street with an adult. Righteous wisdom. When I see people making fun of people with disabilities, that leads me to believe that they're being like the people back like 2,000-3,000 years ago when they would throw lepers in pits and abandon them for some people for no reason. And so, that type of spirit, that type of character is what I'm trying to shine light on. So that way people don't hurt each other anymore. If you believe that doing magic is going to make you righteous, and you believe out there, like, because I see all these, it starts with these institutions, these mega churches. For years and years, they touch these people and they fall, and they start talking, babbling tongues and all this stuff. They're playing with symbols in a Bible, in a book, that other men keep retransliterating over and over. I've told you guys before, people accuse me about that Melchizedek video or that Melchizedek video. I'm going to teach you guys how to kind of read Hebrew, but not how to read Hebrew, because they switch the consonants up in English. So look at certain words like Yahweh, the original one. It would just be YHVH because there would be no vowels. Well, then if you look at Melech or Melchizedek, if you take out the vowels out of that, you still get the same. So Melech and Melchizedek, if you take the vowels out of that, you still get the same word, MLCH. There was no vowels. They're changing vowels and consonants, then changing the name and the meaning. Okay, so like I'll give you an example. Yeho means I am gracious. Or Yehohanan means I am gracious. Yehoshua means I am gracious salvation. Because Shua is salvation. of YHV. It was an Egyptian thing. I looked these things up. So what people are doing is now they're taking, first they took Jesus, which is Yeho-sus, and what they're doing now is they changed it to Yehovah, and now they're going to change it to Yahweh Shah. And they're doing this with each, because if you take all those words and take the consonants out, they make the same word, just like how Hebrew does. But what a lot of people are doing, they're adding their languages, like I'm not accusing these nations, different nations mix into something and they change it up over and over and over throughout times. Even when people talk about they talk about Jesus or Isa or whatever, that man would have been, from what written history, what I know, would have been speaking Aramaic, because Persia had mixed into Jerusalem. Because if you pay attention, the Phoenicians were in Jerusalem for a long time. They were called Phoenicians, ancient Iran, Persia, and Syria and stuff. Well, a man came later and reformed that, because the Phoenicians were basically Egyptians. I'm telling you they were. They turned the Mott into a phoenix. Well, then a poet came trying to reform all this, but what do they do to most poets and prophets that go against the kings of the world? So what ends up happening is you have a new system. Then there's Aramaic. Then there's because as I've told you all before, it was the language of Giza first from Ethiopia. And if you go and pay attention to each historical timeline, you will start to see how they mixed in, created their own civilization. But a lot of times what destroyed them was exiling people, destroying people, slavery, money systems. I was watching a documentary I just posted about from a different man, talking about how Rome was instituted. And you see how we'll talk all this bad stuff about people like Julius Caesar and these different Caesars, but at the same time, you can refine and understand that they were actually doing some good things. I guess a lot of private institutions were making banking systems. Rome was trying to institute money, so what they were doing was taking precious metals and rocks and all sorts of stuff. Do history. You will see the Jewish culture's involvement with Rome in instituting banks and big buildings. So Rome was interested in these big temples that they were building in the Semitic culture in the Middle East. So, and what Greece was doing too. Greece was interested in all this stuff. Greece went to Israel. They went to Canaan. They went to Egypt. They went over to Babylon and Assyria. That's all Persia and Iran and stuff, and Canaan and Egypt. Well, once they came and learned all this stuff and started building their temples, then the Romans came. The Romans basically had the same gods as the Greeks. The Romans and Greeks, to me, are kind of like African Americans and Caucasians in this country. I'm sorry, the Romans and the Greeks kind of acted like the Africans and the Caucasians in this country. Yeah, they were two different nations, but they ended up mixing together, building something. But you see how the spirits lived on of them trying to hate and fight and build, and that type of spirit started to destroy the world. So what I'm saying is, I'm not attacking Jewish people, I'm not attacking banks, I'm not attacking none of that stuff. Those are all things that exist for a reason. I'm attacking the different spirits or men that exist, that when they get the power, they start to enslave others. If you pay attention to what happened in Rome, and then it went to Spain, and then it went to France and Germany and England, all these institutions of money and power and kings, because there wasn't huge governments at first. A lot of Greece and Rome started to formulate this stuff in Europe. Europe was predominantly, they bartered. They talk, I forget the man's name, but supposedly a brother killed another brother, and he built a kingdom in Rome, a city. That city began to gain validity. You had people from Spain coming in, from the Anglo-Saxons coming in, but they were enslaving people also. It was secular rich kings, secular rich villages and lords. So then what ends up happening, you have different Caesars coming forth, and they start to unify everybody. But what they're doing is, just like their forefathers, they're bringing good, but they're also bringing a lot of slavery, and you're going to do this, and you're going to build that. According to this documentary, Caesar brought a great new way in terms of, I'm not saying in God's immorality, but he was bringing a civilized money system. So you guys hear me talking a lot of these videos. I dabble into religion, I dabble into science, political science, psychology, because when you know a variety of all those things, one of them can't consume you. So if I get too deep in religion, I could be like, oh, and become plagued with gods. If I get too deep into psychology, every voice, and I listen to all the terms and conditions. Oh, this is a voice of that, and all that other stuff. If I get too deep into the economic system, so I'll give you an example. They say the Jewish people were supposed to bring the word and the humility and stuff, and this blessing was supposed to come from them. But if you do research, even in 161 BC, when they had a military alliance with Rome, That man wrote the Antiquity of the Jews or whatever, Josephus, but then joined them too. So basically, what they're doing it instead of so. Remember, Nebuchadnezzar said the Most High is the sovereign over all the flesh, and Nebuchadnezzar was brought low because he was a king. So instead of them making it for everybody, the covenant, what they're doing is they're giving it for them and their kingdom's rise. So now, if you're supposed to be priests and teaching the world of healing, why is okay? There's lawyers and all this other different stuff, but you guys should be doing that for the whole everybody you come into contact with. That's how you heal the world, not a kingdom. So if I had 50 million people and I only built up my kingdom, it's going to be a horn, for me. I don't, but if I send my kingdom to heal everybody without question or measure, then basically the world is healed. They say, as in heaven, as below on earth, or as on earth, as in heaven. That's another way to say I am who I am. What's going on up here comes and manifests out here. That's the same for everybody, you know what I mean? We can hide behind a lot of terms and conditions, but ultimately, it's just me, myself, and I, but it's all of us together this way. And so when we realize we're all diverse and come together and start to understand each other, instead of calling the deaf and the blind evil, because for what? What do you have to be feeling pretty bad about yourself to go up to a man that is, okay, so I'll give you an example. The American system kind of does the same thing. All these people who can't work anymore and disabled, worked all these years, all these people who went off to war, even the idea of war, this is what you're doing to your countries. You're training them to be murderers. I'm not saying they're murderers because you're training them to go kill people. Then when they go after Vietnam and the stuff I heard about Vietnam, are you kidding me? We poured Agent Orange on our own people to go take the... Okay, so back to the banking system. You guys will see a lot of these wars and be like, it's over religion, it's over political. No, it's not. Do real in-depth history and research. All these different kings and lords set up money systems and banking systems. When those money systems and banking systems get opposed, they have a government come fight for them. I'll give you an example. Look at I'm not glorifying Hitler. I despise that name. He's a murderer. But if you go outside of good and evil and look at history and what was happening, this Jewish man who was a Zionist, a European Jewish man, taught Hitler all this stuff about mysticism and told him what these Jews were doing and unlocked him, so to speak. And then when they did that, he kicked all, because he was calling them money thirsty and calling them bankers and saying they were destroying the country. If you pay attention to the institution of money, it has been following a culture of people since Egypt. Egyptians were the first ones to start a lot of this stuff, so they're not innocents. So he's trying to kick all these people out the country, because what a lot of people are failing to realize, I'm not trying to exile people or hurt them. But what I'm seeing with my own two eyes is certain people go into a country, they build up this huge, mighty infrastructure and kingdom, treat everybody else like Gentiles, and then when the land is broken, they're like, oh, we're the chosen ones. Look how, because they have the covenants. I'm sorry. They have the covenant. They're clear-minded. When I say I am who I am, that's because that burns off all foolishness through the Spirit. As I said before, the 10 Commandments are like a ring of fire that protect me from the world, as when I put I am in there, or whatever your language to say I am sent me, that's what language you would say it in. It's not some magical English, is the, you know what I mean? But I know the world is switching to English and stuff. But basically what you're seeing is different people fight each other. First you have the father of this stuff who comes in each nation and teaching them. Who teaches each nation each time? They even say it in their own videos. We're the forefathers. We're the chosen ones. We're the ones that started. Okay. So then the ones that start all this stuff, they say, you know, a tree by its fruit. If they're the ones that are starting the stuff throughout the world and the world is continually being destroyed, does that kind of not... So if I paint a picture pink and the picture keeps coming out pink, that's like going, the artist, why is this picture pink all the time? They're telling you who's doing it. So this whole people with disabilities are evil and stuff, if y'all don't knock that shit the fuck out, sorry, excuse my language, calling gay people the devil and shunning them, Over in Islam, killing atheists and homosexuals. Israel wiping Islam off the map. I am telling you, I am blessed with the skill of probability. And there's a probability that Japheth is extending its borders from Europe. And just like how they dug up all these pharaohs, because I'll watch them talk about these precious prophets in the Middle East and Europe and the Levant. Oh, these are their burial grounds. They're so precious. They're so this and that. Then they done dug up all of Africa. They're grave robbers. I'm telling you guys. That's how they know about these consonants called Hebrew. But what they're doing is they're creating their own little system out of it, switching words up and confusing people with it. As I told you all, if you take some of these consonants out or rearrange them and only read if you take some of these vowels out and rearrange them and only read the consonants and then compare them to other consonants with the same hunter of men, arrow, pharaoh, Noah, take PH and N off, you get arrow or boa, take your pick. It's all the same. They're adding new consonants to the same god or phrase that caused discord from the beginning. And then they're resurrecting it from these pharaohs, the hunters of men with their arrows. And they're turning an eagle who hunts snakes into a phoenix that leads to a drake, if that makes sense. So, you know what I mean? I know a lot of times, I don't even know. I think sometimes I go too deep into poems and parables, and then it just kind of goes over a lot of, I don't want to say it goes over heads, but only I can understand what I'm saying. And so it's better to be a light and clear than talking riddles, I guess. So when certain people come up to me talking about like God and religion and certain stuff like that, it's just harder for me to keep up because my mind is trying to translate it. I don't want that idolatry in my head. So you just got to give me a little bit sometimes. But back to like a lot of these money systems and banking systems, you gotta understand, like a lot of times when I get depressed sometimes and how I battle this, and a lot of times I notice if I'm in my own little world, maybe playing a video game or doing whatever I do, go for a walk, I'm cool. But once the world starts to get in my head in the sense that we're like, oh, they've got that, look at those nice shoes, look at that. So those are nice things, cool. But if I see those things and start to get jealous or sad over it, I'm basically like, that's no different than coveting over somebody else's stuff. I see them with it, so now I have to have it. If I can't have it, then I start to get all sad and stuff. It's like, don't get sad, be happy. I have what I have, and I can go build whatever I need. Because the idea is, if you pay attention to a rich man and a poor man, and I'm not saying all rich people are like this, because rich people seem to be happy, but a lot of times what I'm noticing is people, when they're like rich, they're like almost content. They're like, I need this for entertainment, or I need that for entertainment, or let's go here to this country or that country. But then you'll see people like, I watch videos of people swimming in Jamaica and hunting fish and crabs, and then they'll cook it on a rock with a grill or something, and it's like the most beautiful video. But then I'll see people like flying on a jet with millions of dollars, and that stuff's beautiful too, don't get me wrong. I'm not setting apart and splitting apart. I'm basically saying both of those people are happy because they're happy on the inside and finding what makes them happy. Yeah, if I had more money, I could go do some more stuff, but I could take $1 million and go walk on a beach somewhere, or I could walk down my block and I could go find a beautiful park or structure. I can make that my alone time, whatever I find out there in the world. Then let's say a person is eating a magnificent meal, and we're like, oh, they're eating filet mignon, woo, woo, woo. Or let's say, it's like a paradox. Let's say I go to McDonald's or somewhere, and I see a homeless person on the corner. Or no, I go to McDonald's and see a person walking down the street with grocery bags in my car, right? So then that person walking down the street in their car gives one of their little groceries to a homeless person right there. Like, there you go. So then I see that, and I go, can I get a McDouble and a fry just for dude? Now, if I see 2 or 3 people giving this dude food, I don't think I gotta go, oh, they already bought food, I wasted my money. Give it to them anyway, or eat something. See somebody walking down the street and give them a bite to eat. I'm not saying y'all have to do this. This is a piece of my heart. So then, then I go home and get to eat my McDonald's, and I see some rich dude with dinner plates and a big house. And then as I see him eating with the big house, the dude's like enjoying his meal. He's like, oh, this is fantastic. And I go, man, that's fucked up. I gotta go work at this 12-hour shift, man. I'm eating McDonald's. Ugh, I'm sick. You see what I'm saying? Like, just be happy, bro. I could have been that homeless dude sitting on the corner. I could have been the person walking with the groceries. I could be that rich man talking about this is delicious, but that's all just a ploy for some company trying to promote something else for filet mignon and pretty dishware. I don't know what's going on in their lives. I researched some of these K-pop stars. Rest in peace to some of y'all who have went through this, but they have a high significant rate of doing something because of what they go through. They're basically owned and controlled by their sponsors or whatever else. It's sad how we control people. This one K-pop star went out to go give a fan a hug or something, and the agent grabbed her and was like, get in the car. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. What is wrong with people? So, I'm sorry for my language sometimes, but I get upset, and I'm not going to hide certain things if it's not causing harm. If it hurts your ears, I'm sorry, and I can start to change that for other people. But, I don't want people to kill, so they changed that for me. So, hey, cool. It's called mutual respect. So then when I go in the house and watch TV, I can curse. You know what I mean? It's even TVs. You know what I mean? I could have all this. I could be in my house with this computer, Wi-Fi, have a nice job, all this stuff. And then somebody down the block is, having trouble paying with electricity, having trouble. They're watching the basic cable that you get from the antenna from the state of Illinois. You know what I mean? HOI. It's basically like we all have it, but we don't see it. I use the same analogy with superpowers. Let's say now we blinked our eye and we all had superpowers and we could fly and shoot fireballs and jump and fly at the speed of sound. Then what would happen is we would say we can't fly to Jupiter at the speed of light. We can't get to Woo 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 Galaxy because we can't go at the speed of light. Then if we could go at the speed of light, we'd be like, oh, why can't we move at the speed of light, intralight, ultralight, ether light, all these scientific terms? It just would never stop. So then instead of having all that, why don't who I am stay grounded on the earth and just enjoy what I do have? Because then I could take this 3,000 years ago. Here's the firebender. I could then go take a bottle of spray. I'm not even going to do that because what people will start to do. I then could go take a fan or a heavy industrial vacuum or blower, take it back then. They're like, oh, he was the airbender in Avatar. I could go and take, what are those things? I could go take a water hose, right, with a hydro pump on my back and start. They're like, he's the water bender. You know what I'm saying? We can manipulate matter now. I have all this information in the palm of my hand now. Blind are able to see because of surgeries and the deaf can hear. But I know that's outside of what the spiritual meaning, but the two-edged sword. But then if I become religious and go attack those things, I hate medical science. I'm coveting after medical science. So instead of saying I hate it, I can reform it and try to help and give information. But even if I watch people, and this is why people don't reach people certain times. They'll say, this is bad and that's bad, and don't do this and do that. So if it's a journey and I'm trying to get to that point, you're plaguing me talking about, oh, I'm evil, get out of my head. Sometimes we got to walk with people slowly and understand. Even with cigarettes, I've told you all, they're dangerous, but I'm not going to get on here and just demonize them. That's what truth commercials do. And yes, I'm thankful for truth commercials because they warn a lot of people, but you're not helping the people that already smoke. I promise you you're not. You're terrifying us. So, then people will be like, I hear people all the time saying quitting smoking cigarettes is easy. And a lot of times it'll be people who smoke for a little bit and then quit, or people, maybe they don't even smoke. If you don't do something and say it's easy, I would that you shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. Sometimes my anger gets the best of me because that's like what I'm telling you what you're doing. That's like a man who has never been battered or had problems before, walking into a shelter full of women who are there experiencing their stories, and you're a big man too, and you're overpowering and walk into the room. This happened to you because of who you are, and you shouldn't have wore that pretty little dress, and you shouldn't twirl around like that. That's what people are doing to other people, dude. When people have ailments and sicknesses, you're not supposed to beat them down. The reason stuff like prisons and stuff exists is because when somebody does get to that point, it don't even got to be a prison. Like, if you're a murderer killing people, you're gonna go to prison, dude. And I don't need to, like, stuff like that. You're causing harm. But different other people who, even if you're like already to that point and you're like, people be like, oh, I'm gonna touch them and heal them. Oh, you have no idea about psychology. You have no idea that happened a long time ago to a point where now, if I am not consciously aware and able to heal myself, then how can somebody else? The conscience has already been distorted. Sometimes people have physical brain ailments. So, you guys got to step out of religion sometimes and look at the world for what it is. That's why I say religion can be beautiful. It's a ground to stand on spiritually that nobody else can understand or help you with. And if they do help you with it, let there be a righteous rock that doesn't lead to destruction, but construction. And let with the construction you build be with valiant blueprints and not let the building fall apart. So, I just try to help as many people as I can and talk to people. If anybody has questions that come across and want to learn certain things and understand certain things, because all I can ever do is unlock something that you could possibly already know or understand, and we're just helping each other. Different people teach me certain things, and I grow and learn, and it's like boom. And so when I get to be like, for who I am, when I become a giant, for me, I don't then want to go step on other people. Oh, fee, fi, fo, fum. Come down on Jaws beanstalk and start stepping on humans. You know what I mean? That's not my intentions. I told a man named John Core Books one time, I was like, oh, the irony if this is an imagination and just something I'm conjuring. So in the future, please don't use my words to say bow to reincarnation. So I was joking around in one of his comments. He was like, man, I'm not getting nowhere and people aren't, following along, listening. And we talked about this before. When you tell the truth, certain times the world don't want to hear it. So sometimes it's just best for us to be patient and wait for the future, wait for those who want to hear it. So I'll give an example. I've said before, and a lot of these different videos, they're going with the times, talking about all this silly stuff that they know possibly alters reality or isn't real. Alters what's real and leads into reality, the matrix of the imagination. So I read a story one time of how it was actually a meme, and then I read the story. A king was so angry one time, he took him and his army to the ocean. He was warring against Poseidon, and he started stabbing the ocean. He ordered his men to stab the ocean for hours. Now, then you have different men that are wise men who I go back and read, and I'm like, oh, that is very wise and intellectual, and I give that life. Now, do you think I'm finna go to the ocean and start stabbing the water? But at the same time, did I not? Did I go to the sea of buffoonery and start stabbing the water? See, life is, we can use anything to understand and learn and grow. So no, I'm not going to physically go stab water. And no, I'm not going to go physically start writing laws. But at the same time, both of them can be precursors to understand the world around. I'm sorry. This dude was stabbing the ocean. To me, that's hilarious. That's like we look at other stories, some aren't so funny, like people who used to play with fire and burn other people alive for their gods and stuff. But at the same time, I can look at that and say, okay, I can use spiritual fire to burn up things that aren't real or cause pain and torment, and then the man can walk and rise again and will no longer be lame and can walk in the ways of who he is. So that's just like a little parable or a little teaching or something, you know what I mean? I don't need parables. So yeah, anybody who didn't believe me about the Melchizedek, remove the vowels and stuff and see if it don't come out to Melech. I'm just telling y'all, I'm trying to help. So there's a lot of different stuff you got. See, I can't go through that whole Bible and teach forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So that's why I'm giving you guys the sword, the seal. So I'll give you an example. If a person reads the Bible without I am who I am, then what'll end up happening is they'll be consumed by all the different spirits that exist. So look at Peter. He denied 3 times and then trust in the word. So when Peter started to walk over water outside of the boat, what do a lot of people use religion like a boat so they don't drown. So when Peter started to walk over the waters, he didn't trust in the name, so he started to sink. So if I was to go read this Bible without none of the knowledge that I possess, the 10 Commandments in the name, then I'd be like, oh, the Lord God says his spirit flew powerfully. Oh, the Lord God says that I need to do this. It's like a source code. When the Lord God is used, remember how I said if I say the word dog, you start thinking of barking and dogs. If I say the word cat, you'll probably think about cats and meowing and stuff. It's like words or vibrations that open up keyholes in the brain that open up your world to a different image. I'm not saying, like if I say Gatorade, then you might possibly think of a bottle of Gatorade, but it might not be this blue Gatorade. You might have thought of red Gatorade or purple Gatorade. If I talk about a smoke detector, you might think of a round smoke detector, but then if I show you this, that's a carbon monoxide detector. See, we have our own ideas of things, but then when certain keywords from others come and unlock those things, and then we come together, and then we connect the servers, and then we have a whole new world. Sometimes I want to say that was beautiful, but then it's like, stop. Stop tooting your own horn. Don't hit yourselves on the head, please. I'm just being funny. So, a lot of times what people are doing is they're using a universal term or a word or a vibration, and everybody has a different world for that vibration. When those worlds are unlocked, some people are fervently afraid or have ideas of fear and subservience or killing others and hurting others for the spirit or to fulfill justice. And that's why I don't like using a universal term. When you go to I am who I am, now I'm reading the Bible. Ooh, that's not who I am. I don't want that man's I am right there in me. Ooh, I don't want to powerfully raise my spirit and slay a brother, but if that's happening, let me edify that and refine it to a way where it's saying my loving spirit overpowers the darkness, not in a way where I'm saying you better love, but I'm giving people love and advice and righteousness so they might want to come along. So then it slew that old angry spirit that they had, not the person. So love. And when I say love, that like, that's love. So different people's versions of love will come in. So whatever is not harmful, different people's ideas. See, so it's never ending. Anything can be contradicted. That's why it's good to have level ground and come together and start to learn and understand and help each other. Because anything can be contradicted. That's the balance of life. You have up, down, up. The planet spins. The sun spins. The galaxy and the Milky Way spins. You know what I mean? So it's life. It's the balance. It's the nature. If I spend 100 years wondering what this is, instead of enjoying what this is, those two different men are going to be a lot different. But at the same time, who's to say which one enjoyed it more? The man who enjoyed everything might be like the grasshopper. The man who researched and learned everything might be like the ant and prepared. But at the same time, ants can be stepped on and grasshoppers can fly away. So you never, you know what I mean? Just, it's how you interpret life and how you see things and how you want to let yourself off and be perceived. So, just be a loving, caring person to the best of your ability. I'm trying to be a loving, caring person to the best of my ability, but things make me angry. I love baptizing things. But when I see a Baptist church telling people the Braille is the devil because they're afraid of things we create, then what can I say? I can only give advice. So, don't let people tell you you're disabled because of God. Don't let people tell you you're disabled or hurt because that's what was willed to be, because God created the whole world before mankind was written and created, so there's going to be people that hurt on purpose. Don't tell people they're legions or devils because they're affected psychologically and stuff like that. And when people are affected psychologically, don't be so quick to label them and give them all these names you guys created in psychology. I will see normal people out here talking about, I think I'm bipolar, I think I'm schizo, I think I hear voices. You guys are tearing normal people up because of the cages you're putting people in. So, I try to tell people to the best of my ability. Try to love others, try to help others, try to respect others, try to create a world where we can live together and try to be helpful. Because any world you create, I'm not saying any of the worlds are evil, but when you start to take and destroy with your world and force it, that's Pharaoh. Bow to me or die. What did all the prophets say? I will not bow. That doesn't mean go up to a king and say, I'm not going to bow to you. That doesn't mean when a king comes out of his castle or whatever country you guys live in, say, we're going to be martyred for the... No. Do what you got to do. But at the same time, I'm not your Most High. So I tell you all, I'm not going to murder people. I'm not going to join some military and kill people. If a person comes up to me and say, slay a child, sorry. I'll see you all whenever. That's just a part of my life. I'm not going to beat and destroy and hurt people. So everybody's got their own difference. All I can do is be a light. So when I say that, if a job or a job's like, we need you to come in on Saturday or you're fired. Am I going to go in on Saturday or say, the Lord God Sabbath, and lose my profession? And then think I am righteous? You know what I mean? Like, use your common sense, guys. In the medical field, I've had to work 7 days in a row. I've had to work 19 hours at a time before. I didn't go, I'm disrespecting the Lord God. I did what I had to do, and then the overtime ended, and I got to have rest days again and stuff. You know what I mean? It ain't that serious, guys. And yet it is that serious, because protect yourself. Because people will send you everywhere in the world. I will see a preacher talk on a stream for 2 hours, giving all these holidays from the Torah and all these creed. This one person was like, "Are we supposed to cook goats and milk? And are we supposed to do the pashat, the Torah, the blowing of the shofar? All these different. They putting on all these roasts, doing stuff. Okay, that's their cute little culture. But I still hear them telling people they're gonna burn or pay or not make it or this and that. Y'all are not gonna do shit to nobody unless you will to go hurt somebody. And if you do that, you're like your father since the beginning, the devil, who kills for the law. Have a beautiful day. I'm going to continue to live my life and do what I got to do. And I hope you all stay blessed and learn how to help each other instead of calling. For one day, let your children be judges. They call him the devil for saying a name. Now they're calling people with illnesses the devil for having illnesses. I don't even like calling it illnesses for being different. So I'm not trying to reform languages. I just like saying being different. And when I say be different, we're all different. I'm different. We're all different. I just mean different as in their own world, their own person. So stay beautiful and stay blessed.